You know, I forgot to mention something in that last video I did when I was saying that church members should take their guns to church. One thing I forgot to mention is the fact that churches that's gun friendly should conduct training, active shooting training for those that carry and conceal legally. The members, as well as those that conceal and carry legally, should have active shooters training. The members should know exactly what to do in the case of active shooters, because in that video where that church, where that active shooter came into that church, the people were ducking and dodging behind the pews. They were screaming. And I've always wondered, why do people scream? I mean, what's the purpose of screaming? You know? Anyway, that's beside the point. I've always wondered, why do people scream, right? And I understand that it's out of fear, but screaming is not... I think screaming would only hype up the shooter, would make him feel more empowered when you scream. But I think if churches that are gun friendly had active shooter training, the members would know exactly what to do in the case of an active shooter. Those members that carry and conceal firearms would also know exactly what to do in the case of an active shooter. They will have each member that carries and conceal, and there's a reason why I keep repeating that, because I'm making it perfectly clear that you're legally carrying, concealing. They would have a place, a special place where they would sit. There's a designated place that they will sit to be able to respond a lot faster. Now, that church did quite well. My only thing with was the one guy that was sitting there. The active shooter was right there, already had his firearm in his hand, had that shotgun out, and he stood up and then went for his firearm, and he was a direct target. There was no way that he would have gotten out of that. The best thing for that man would have been to just sit there, because there was a guy in back of him that was already armed, and he looked like he's been on the range. Just by his reaction, it looked like he's been training. But he already had his firearms drawn. The member that got shot was in the line of shooting. So he was between two firearms, the other member and the active shooter. He should have just sat there, because he would have been a prime target like he was. And he lost his life foolishly. He should have never done what he did. He should have let the other members that was armed, that was not in the line of fire, take care of that situation. But see, and I don't know if they have active shooter drills or if they knew exactly what to do. But if they had active shooter training and they conducted drills, just the members, because when you have non-members, you don't know if one of those non-members are there just to case the place. And if they know what you're going to do, then they can prepare themselves. So if you have members that carry and conceal legally, they will have their training. They know exactly where they sit and how they would respond. And the members will know how to respond. They would drop. They would get under the pews like they were. But the screaming, maybe that's a natural reaction for women. And I'm sure some guys were probably screaming too. But in that video, there was one guy that was just sitting there. He didn't get down. He just sat in his seat. But I think that churches that are gun friendly should have active shooter drills. The members, as well as those that's carrying concealing. And the church should keep a log of those that carry and conceal. And they know exactly where to sit, and they know exactly how to react in the case of an active shooter. Like if the shooter comes from this direction, this certain group would respond a certain way. Or if he comes from another angle, this group would respond a certain way, right? But they know exactly what to do in the case of an active shooter, right? And they don't have to have the firearm openly carried and showing that I'm carrying. No, I mean, because the shooter want the element of surprise, because he is going to think it's a soft target. And like what happened in that church, he was surprised. He lost his life. Right? So I think that every gun-friendly church should have active shooter drills with the members and with those members that carry and conceal. So what do you think about that? Feedback, tell me what you think. Until next time, I'm fearless.